to ask you to do.
Turn off your cell phone.
Turn off your cell phones, please. Can you hear me? Yes, good. Do it. Okay. So it's wonderful to have Pat Bird talk to us this morning about shape songs, and I think it'll be an education for many of us, and I look forward to it because she's a great PowerPoint expert. She taught me how to do it. So Pat, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Today we're going to talk about a very unique type of music that is a part of our American music history. I just was talking with someone on the way to the class here who had never heard of it. And it may be that you haven't either, because it lives mostly in the South these days. However, there seems to be a renaissance of it that has been growing in the last couple of decades. And we'll talk some more about that. But it's called shape note singing, it's called sacred harp singing, it's called fa sol la singing, which shouldn't be too much of a surprise because if you see there are syllables, fa sol la, mi fa. And you might think, wait a minute, isn't it supposed to be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do? If you watch Sound of Music, you know that that's how it's supposed to be. But this is a tradition that goes way back, even all back to England, where during the time of Queen Elizabeth I, they only used the 4 syllables, fa, sol, la, mi. And somehow they have brought that over to what became America, and it became part of Sacred Harp. So how can you have Sacred Harp without a harp? We'll talk about that in a minute, but the name comes from this book you see there in the slide, The Sacred Harp, 1991 edition. This actually started in 1844 with the first book called Sacred Harp. And over all these years, it has been revised and revised and revised and more added to it. And now I understand there's even another one that has come out since 1991. And that's what it looks like on the page. It goes back to before the Revolution, when early settlers in New England and Appalachia came in with their music traditions. And it moved down the Appalachian Mountains and really found a home in the South. And we'll hear some of that as we go along. So, how can you have a harp or a sacred harp with no harp? Well, there is no harp, and in fact, there are no instruments at all. This is all purely the sound and the power of the human voice in 4-part harmony. And some think that the term sacred harp refers to the human voice, the instrument that we all get when we're born. I'm going to go back to this just for a minute. This is the inside page of one of the earliest 1858 versions of the Sacred Harp. And you might like to know that this, the printing of the Sacred Harp took place right here in Philadelphia. So we can take a little pride in the fact that Philadelphia played a significant role in the tradition of Sacred Harp. This is the copyright that John Connolly gave to William Smith and William Little, who were the ones who came up with this system of shape notes. And he gave them exclusive rights to publish things using these particular shapes. And that was in 1798. that they began this. Now, we're going to jump right into the deep end here, and I'm going to play several videos for you of Sacred Harp singing. And what I hope you will do as you're watching and listening is take in as much as you can about how does it look, because Sacred Harp is something visual as well as audible. And what are we seeing? What are the people doing visually? And of course, what does the music look like? On each video, I've put up the page from the book that they're actually singing and the words. So what does the music look like? And of course, what are we hearing? What about the words? And how does it make us feel to listen to this? And when we come out on the other side of the videos, we'll look at these questions again, and I welcome your impressions. So here, fasten your seatbelts, here we go. I will say, when we were setting up the volume this morning, that some were already kind of eyes wide open. It's loud. But if it gets painful, let me know and we'll take it down a notch, but try to hang on. Here we go. Whoops. One more. I chose this because I thought this was one hymn that some might
Pat,
recognize.
speaking to the mic.
Pat, speak in the mic.
Sorry, I chose this because I think this is a hymn most people, or some people might know. I'm going to stop it here. Okay. So, can we just talk for a moment about how many here has this been your first experience of seeing or hearing shape note singing? Oh my, quite a few. Well, let's hear from you. What were we seeing? What did it look
Are
like?
there,
What were the people doing? I think there are mics out there. Okay, we have some hands back here.
Well, you're seeing that it's 4-part harmony, but they're in a square, around the leader, for
Very
one thing.
imitative, it was moving from part to part.
Right, but I mean, instead of like the chorus as we know, where they're all lined up in one way. here
Right.
they're in a square.
Exactly, good for you.
And one other thing, I didn't realize it the first time, but then I realized they were singing the fa, sol, la, mi all the way through the melody and before they would actually sing the words.
Well, you're very observant. I thought people would say, what in the world are they singing? Who else would like this? Dallas?
I was just getting ready to say,
Right up against your mouth, dear.
they sang the fa sol la
Yes,
before they sang the actual hymn.
right.
And also, the beautiful harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like an orchestra to me
Yes.
when they sing. But then too, I'm beginning to get like a chant also.
Yes, there's a very kind of driving forward, isn't it? And a very chant-like sound at times. Who else would like to comment? What else did you see?
Well, I
Jane?
noticed that it was almost like a heartbeat. I mean, it was such a rhythm, and I wonder whether or not that could be a connected explanation, because, the drums in the beginning of the music, and it was almost drum-like.
A very, very
Very
intense
pronounced.
rhythm,
That's right,
isn't
that's
it?
right.
Yes. You are very observant people. Jim would like to say something.
It's fascinating that there was no clapping
but most of them joined in with the directing exactly
Mhm.
so that they would feel the rhythm and
Yes.
stay together, but
Yes,
clapping would get in the way of the beautiful harmony.
yes, yes. And all the examples I've ever seen of shake note singing, I've never seen clapping, but this is part of the tradition. We'll talk about that in a moment. Once the leader sets the tempo, everybody joins in. You notice how the beat never varied. They didn't slow down, they didn't speed up. They were all just dead on that beat every single time. Okay, time for one other observation
When
for what it looked like.
when do they come down with a hand in the thing? The
What-
leader, when does he come with the upstroke or the downstroke?
It kind of depends, because one thing that we learn about this is that the leaders are just people in the group there, and they just take turns coming out. They choose a hymn they'd like to lead. They get to set the tempo, and some of them just do it a little better than others. But in the one that was in 3 time, if you notice, she came out. It was 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, it's a duplet where you just hand goes up and down on 1 and 3. Okay, yeah.
Is it a pentatonic scale?
I'm going to talk about that because, yes, you did have a very distinct feeling of the harmony not being what we're used to. If we were going into church and singing a hymn, the organ would play it first and then we'd hear the tune, and most of us would sing the melody. This is a little different. What else? What about the words? Did you notice anything about the words?
Old. They were old. Excuse me, they were old English.
Old
Like
English,
bones.
some of it was very much, yes.
To do something.
But where does it come from? It's very obviously Christian, isn't it? Yes. And this just came out of the Christian tradition, and yet today everybody sings Sacred Harp. How did it feel for the first time hearing and seeing this? Can anyone comment on what your impression was? Did you kind of get excited by it? Did it kind of feel, oh gosh, I don't want to listen to this all day?
Well, I felt very spiritually uplifted.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard Shake Note before, and I've always had that reaction to it.
Uh-huh. Good, okay. Well, I'm gonna move on because
I
this,
just want to say,
Yeah,
it
go
actually literally made my hair stand up, the first song.
yes,
I don't recall that physical reaction before, but it literally made my hair stand on end.
yes. Well, we'll hear some more later on about people who have experienced it. Yes, Dallas. Here, you can use mine.
I found myself playing the drum,
Uh-huh.
and I was going bum, 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 bum
Uh-huh.
in my head.
Yes. It really kind of draws you in, doesn't it? You feel like you have to move or sing with it or something because it's just so compelling. All right, well, let's move on. I do want to say this is jam-packed with stuff, this presentation. I had to keep taking things out and putting things in because there was so much I wanted to say and there just wasn't time. I'm sorry I didn't make this more than just one class. But if you do have to leave before it's over, don't hesitate. So let's see how much we actually picked up. The hollow square. They're sitting in a square. And I'm going to talk a bit about that in a moment. The singers mark the time together. We noticed that with the leader, very strong rhythmic beat. The leaders come from the group. These are not professional musicians or any, they might be, but that's not a prerequisite. Everybody gets a chance to be in the middle if they want. No instruments. Somebody sounds the pitch and they all get their notes and off they go. The first time through is on the syllables because there are no instruments to tell people what the tune is. It's not a performance. You notice there's no audience. Everybody that's there is there to sing. And there's no performance, there's no audience, there's no rehearsal. You just come in, you're handed a book, sit with one of the sections and have at it, okay? Of course, the most obvious is this loud, raw, primal sound. It's haunting. A lot of it sounds very haunting. And we'll talk about that in a moment. 4-part harmony. The melody, did anyone notice the melody is in the tenor voice, not in the soprano where we are used to it being. Shape note music is noted for the fact that the melody is the third line down in the tenor. These open harmonies, I'm going to talk to you about that in just a moment. Contrapuntal, noticed how imitative it was? Someone mentioned how the leader, I think it was Eugenia, the leader turned and as they were leading, because one voice might sing a phrase and then the next part might echo it. And the leader tries to point to each section to just remind them, okay, it's your turn. Very contrapuntal. Libby, did you want to say something? Am I getting?
That's better.
Okay, good. Imitative and very complex. And you wonder, how can anyone just know how to do that? Which is what is the amazing thing about shape note singing. Christian text and intergenerational, and just to illustrate that for a moment, just look at this video for a moment and look who's in the middle. Okay, I'm going to just stop that for now. But later we'll hear some people talk about how they first came to shape note singing by being brought by their families to an all-day singing when they were little children. So let's talk about this hollow square. We'll start with the tenors because they have the melody. But anyone can sing the melody. If we were to walk into a harp sing, they might ask us, what part would you like to sing? And if you already know that the melody is in the tenor, you might say, I want to sit with tenors because they probably have a little bit easier go of it than the others. But anyone, you can sit in any part you want and sing any part you want. But the tenors are the ones who get the melody. And as we come around the square, the trebles sing the top line. Now, we might call them sopranos, but because a lot of this has an English roots, and they have this wonderful tradition of men and boy choirs, the boys aren't called sopranos, they're called trebles. And so that has come into our shape note singing. And you can hear they sing very high. Altos sing the second line just like we're used to. However, in very early shape note singing, there was no alto part. There were just 3 lines, and altos kind of got to choose where they wanted to sing. I have a couple of books up here on the table if you want to look at them after the class. And the first one, the Southern Harmony, you'll see a lot of it only has 3 lines. And then the other one, which Gordon very generously loaned me, is one much later that has all 4 lines. Okay, coming around to the basses, they kind of hold it all together because they have the lowest line. And in the fuguing tunes, which is what a lot of what we heard, that just means these imitative songs where the pattern keeps moving around the square. They kind of hold it together. They're the foundation. And then, of course, the person in the middle, the song leader, stands there in the middle and leads and sets the tempo. Now, I want to talk a moment about these open harmonies. And we're going to just do a little demonstration here. Yes, you're going to sing, but you only have to sing 1 note, so don't get too upset. Group 1, I think I think this whole group will make group 1, all right? You're going to be the Fa's, all right? Fa, this is your note. Fa, okay. Just remember that, all right? And I guess up here from Ha over, you'll be part 2. You're going to be the La's. Fa, la, la. I'm not in very good voice this morning. And then from Philip over, you're going to be the Sols. Sol, Sol. Okay, now let's get it all together. Fa, la, sol. Now just hold your note. Oh, you can do better than that. You heard how much they, come on. Fa, la, sol. Keep holding it. If you have to take a breath, do it. Okay, now listen to how harmonic that is. Now do it again, keep holding it, and when I motion to the la's, you're going to drop out. But you 2 are going to keep singing. All right, here we go. Fa, la, sol. Stop. But I can't hear you. Fa, sol. Hear how open that sounded when they dropped out? One singer said it was like a picket fence with some of the words missing. But that's kind of very typical of Appalachian and other types of folk music where you have this very open, hollow sound, which kind of really is very primal, because when human beings first discovered they could sing in harmony, it was those open harmonies that they first discovered before they discovered there was even more to be done. So thank you for helping me show you that. I was going to do more, but I'm going to rush ahead to because of the time. So how does anyone go about learning this? Well, it's started with the idea that if you could match a tone with a shape and a sound, you really didn't have to know that much about reading music. So the William Smith and William Little invented these shapes for the fa, sol, la, mi, fa. And as you learned how to do that, this is a C scale. How many of you ever took piano lessons? And wasn't the very first thing your teacher taught you was where's middle C on the piano? Well, that's middle C, that first one. That's how it looks on the staff. But in straight note music, it's got a triangular head. And then sol is round, la is square, and then we start with fa again, another triangle, and so forth. And so a shape note singer gets to have this 3-part mental association that links a sound with a shape and a place on the scale. And they sing the syllables before they start to sing the words so that they remember how it goes. And how did they learn how to do this? Well, there was no sort of public education in music, but there was something called singing schools. And it was kind of like itinerant ministers and circuit riders and what have you. There would be a music instructor, a singing instructor, who would go around from town to town and hold a singing school for maybe 2 or 3 weeks or so. And people would go and they would practice. They would learn how to do this, and they would practice this and learn in a very rudimentary way a little bit about how to read music. And I need to tell you that my family is from the South, and my original family didn't have a piano, but a number of my Southern relatives did. And I was just fascinated with the piano, but I didn't know music. And then my one aunt had a shape note hymnal on her piano. And I opened it up and I realized that those shapes meant something. And I couldn't quite figure it out. And nobody in my family was musical who could show me, but I would sit there for hours just trying to figure out what the different shapes meant. And that was my first experience of ever seeing music in print, was a shape note hymnal. And these singing schools also had another service, and that was, it was considered a very respectable place for couples to meet and court. And we have a living example right here. Gordon told me that that's how his parents met, at a singing school. And so we wouldn't have Gordon if it wasn't for singing schools. Anyway, it was said that this is how many rural Southerners had any form of music training right into the 20th century. And they're still active. Baylor University holds a Sacred Harp event every year, and they have a singing school that precedes it, and then they have an all-day sing. So it hasn't died in any sense. There's a picture that might have been in a singing school. But if we want to really find the spiritual home of Sacred Harp singing today, we have to go down to Georgia. Down near Bremen, there's a little church called Holly Springs Church. And harp singing has become so much of the culture there that it's even earned its own historic marker. And this is outside the little church, which is up there on the, look at that, it's just there. If we had a drone view of that, it would just be trees and more trees, and then this little white clapboard church right there in the middle. And they had a big convention just this year. That's what it looks like on the inside, kind of almost like a Quaker meeting house. Very plain, the benches are in a square, and that's where it's considered these days the kind of spiritual home. Now, anybody know who that is? Jesse Norman, the very famous contralto opera singer. And if you might remember in the 80s, Bill Moyers did a PBS documentary on Amazing Grace. And it's a profound impact on Americans, how across all borders, almost everyone knew Amazing Grace. Joan Collins certainly helped with that. And he's interviewing Jesse Norman here, and who also sang Amazing Grace as often when she did public performances. And he's asking her if she ever heard Shape Note singers sing it. And her response is, she said, I can't possibly imitate that. But she said, it's almost like a sound that's coming from the center of the earth. And I thought that was such a wonderful description of this phenomenon. But let's watch a little bit of this tape, and it's going to take us to Holly Springs Church. And Hugh McGraw, who is kind of the guru of shape note singing in our day, will tell us a little bit more.
Original melody.
Oops, I'm trying to get
the
this.
shape note singers sing it down in the South.
It's really quite something. I can't possibly imitate
primal,
that, but
something
it really is. I mean, it becomes something that's really coming from the center of the earth, it sounds like.
There's that intergenerational bit. Here you can really hear the tenors have the melody.
I would think that when they first introduced Amazing Grace and started singing, they sang just like we sing today. We sing just like it was sung when we first put in the book 150 years ago. 100 years ago, it was just about all you had through this whole country down here was shaped notes. There wasn't anything else. And there wasn't a lot of people down in rural sections of the country 150 years ago. And when you had all day singing, you just about get the whole town and the whole community. Amazing Grace has been just about used the same way since the start of putting in books. The Shapes wasn't invented until 1798 by Smith and Little. They wrote a book and they said a fa will be triangular, sol will be round, la will be square, and mi will be diamond shaped. And then they started singing shape notes all over the country in the singing schools because it was the easiest method in the world for beginners to learn to sing. If you put 7 round notes on the scale, it's hard to get the sound of them without some kind of instrument or something to help you. But here you start off with your fa, sol, la, mi, fa, and you'd find out the sound of it. And today, we still sing the shapes first because it's become a tradition with us.
Everybody's invited out to dinner on the table, and you've got dinner that you want to spread with us. Be sure to spread it out with us. We'll help you eat it up. Everybody dismissed for about 1 hour. That was a real good appropriate time you sang that. It was real good. And it sure was good.
My family always sang Sacred Heart, and I just grew up singing Sacred Heart. I've been coming here ever since I can remember, a small child.
We come twice a year. Up here, we have one in June and then one in November. They all over, go about every Sunday.
I think it's the feeling that you have and it's a tradition, and it's tied in with your families and there's a lot of good memories, you know. But then we worship the Lord in song, and I like that. They sing Amazing Grace a lot in this singing and all singings. It's beautiful everywhere.
It's just a good song, wrote like it's supposed to be wrote.
Amazing Grace is not the name of the song in our book, it's named New Britain. We don't know where the tune comes from. We've come to the conclusion that it was a ballad that was sung many, many years ago in some of the old countries. And somebody has taken the ballad and put the words of Amazing Grace to it. It's more than just the sound, it's the fellowship and the love that we have for one another that and that makes us sing our hearts out for one another.
That could be my family. Every time I see this, I get a little high-eyed. Okay, we're going to move on. And we're going to come up north, where we're going to be in Chicago for the first harp singing convention ever held north of the Mason-Dixon line. And this is in the 1990s. And I may skip along through the video just to keep us as close to on time as we can. But this also gives some more information.
And I had heard about it all my life, but had never really participated. And when I went away to school, to college, I heard a couple of record albums, and it just set me up right. I felt immediately, as many other people do who have come to it, that this was the music I had been waiting for all my life without knowing.
When we first went south, we were dumbstruck by the power and the vigor of the singing of the traditional Southern singers. And I went down south and I didn't.
Well, I came from an area where Sacred Heart was sung a great deal, and I had heard about it all my life, but had never.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to the.
Well, I came from an area where the Sacred Heart was sung a great deal, and I had heard about it all my life.
Well, we may have to just watch the whole thing.
When I went away to school, to college, I heard a couple of record albums, and it just set me up right. I felt immediately, as many other people do who have come to it, that this was the music I had been waiting for all my life without knowing.
When we first went south, we were dumbstruck by the power and vigor of the singing of the traditional Southern singers. And I went down south and I didn't hear a sound I knew. It didn't matter how loud I sang, I could not hear a sound I knew for the power of the singers around me. And none of them were straining or working especially hard at it. They just had this tremendous power. I walked out of this little church with my ears just ringing as if I had been in a club playing live rock music. It was amazing how powerful and loud it was.
There's a saying I always use when I teach at singing school is the difference between a fiddle and a violin is you were taught to play the violin, but you learned to play the fiddle. And I think a lot of the Southerners just grew up going and really don't know the mechanics of the music, but they just learned it. And whereas here and in other places, they know exactly what's going on with the music, and they just like to sing it.
They sang with such a pulse, such a rhythm in it, and a beat, where ours, the conventional choral standard beauty is this smooth legato, no volume bumps, no jumps, you keep it flowing and smooth. It's exactly the opposite of Sacred Heart. They want a heavy pulse on 1/3 of every 4/4 tune, for instance, and that it's audible, that it's almost visceral.
You may notice some of the faces here you saw down at Holly Springs. They all came up here to sing in the north.
I can't tell you, and I don't know that anyone can tell you where the arrangement of that open square, the hollow square, came about, where that actually started. It is a stroke of genius for people who are singing only for their own enjoyment to have devised it rather than facing out and throwing their voices out someplace else to an audience. Sacred Heart, an audience doesn't exist. The singers are the audience. They sing for their own pleasure, with their own standards of beauty. The singers are called a class from the singing school days, and the tune we lead is called your lesson. We enclose ourselves in a square and sing towards the center of the square, where one of the singers are called all day long to come out of the ranks, stand in the middle, and lead any tune of their choosing. Now, this is not stated in any of our choral directors, none of them are. We are merely time beaters. We get up and decide on a tempo for a tune, and the hand comes down and the class is off and running.
like a wall of sound coming crashing down over your head. It's hard, you really can't experience it unless you're in the center. The experience of actually being there with sound coming on all four sides, it makes your bones buzz.
The best seat in the house for Sacred Harp singing is not a seat at all. It's standing in the center, leading the group.
The leader will face the tenor section, and in singing school we're taught to sing the tenor part, even though we may be an alto or bass or a treble. You should sing the melody, and you should lead that melody with both what you're singing, the melody, and by beating the time that you want. To your left will be the treble, we'll be singing the high harmony. To your right, the basses, and behind the altos. When you're in the center of the square and you have maybe 50 or 100 or 200 people roaring at you at the top of their lungs, it is a nearly levitating experience with a large group of good singers and have the whole class just cooking.
Some people call Sacred Harp white gospel music, but a Southern black farmer, Judge Jackson, didn't want to be left out. In 1934, he published the colored Sacred Harp. It became a popular songbook throughout the South. Judge Jackson's son continues to publish it today.
Like the plague we avoid in place with carpets or with a ceiling that is too high.
I'm going to stop this because of the time, and I just want to say that later on she talks about how, as the singing goes on, people sometimes just spontaneously burst into tears. And how the warmth, she said, I don't know how it happens, it just happens. And she said, there's something about sitting in that square and singing into the square, everybody singing and seeing each other, she said, just produces an incredible warmth between the singers, so that you have this visceral, just emotional sense of the power that's being produced there, and bringing people together with the knowledge that they can produce something so powerful. It's really amazing. And then the young man we saw at the beginning later on says that also, one of the things that happens is that people who are not Christian or have different political beliefs or different race, whatever, he said there's something about getting together in that way and singing that just washes all that away. And that there's a communion that takes place where people just, all their differences just disappear. Because they're doing this together and producing this amazing thing. So I'm going to move on now. She said confidently. Okay, I have some quotes here that I want to share with you of people who have written about their experience. And this is from Stephen Parker. He says, I suspect this beauty of singing Sacred Harp is what draws such disparate sorts of people to it. It is a healing we can sense and feel, and really nothing more need be said about it. Some will object to this characterization as being too Christian. It is not. It is Christian enough for those who are Christian, Buddhist enough for the Buddhists, Cherokee enough for the Cherokee. It is a need for humans in relationship to the larger world, regardless of one's particular personal metaphors. And then, if you have been bewitched by this extraordinary phenomenon, if its tunes and texts demand your attention at all hours, If you wonder at the years of your ignorance, you have a dawning realization of what it means when they say there's more to Sacred Harp than the singing. You understand that this is an organic living tradition. And I was just saying to Hava before the class, if I sit down and listen to one song, I can't stop. It's like peanuts. I have to keep having one more. And then I love this one. This is from a 1930 Texas harp convention. If these people were not happy in the best and fullest meaning of the word, then I have never seen human happiness. And then this is Ella Christoph, that she went to her first singing in an apartment in Chicago. And this is what she said: sitting shoulder to shoulder with strangers and creating an ungodly loud form of music. Just knowing that you can make something so powerful together tends to bond people, which is why, in part, departing a shape note singing can be a sudden and lonely experience. Leaving a room bursting with sound, warmth, and community, and continuing on alone in the cold, silent night is jolting. My ears ring a bit, and I find myself silently singing a few lines that stick in my head, swaying in time with the music that still hangs in my mind. And I want to play this. This is one of my favorites. This is Ireland is real big on shape note singing. And Tolly Lee, just watch, he really gets into it. Listen to how high the trebles go. If you feel like singing, please go ahead. Joy of earth to earth comes down. It's in us of no valley. Oh, my faithful mercies found. It is a sorrow, all compassion. Your unending love, how wide. Visit us with thy salvation, and from every trembling heart. It is a power, all compassion. Your unending love, how wide. Visit us with thy salvation, and from every trembling heart. Are we happy yet? Just love that. Here's one, if I can get my mouse down here. Just look at the complexity of that music, especially down where at the bottom where the 16th notes are. And listen to this. This is just blew my mind. It isn't just gospel songs that they're able to do. Listen to this incredible thing. You really need two leaders for this. Whew. I used to direct church choirs. It would have taken us a year to learn that. Okay.
I have a question, Pat.
Hmm?
I have a question.
Yes.
When you're going to a Shape Note concert, where does the audience sit? Or
There's no audience. There's no audience. It's not a concert.
So in other words, if you're going to go to a Shape Note performance, you're ready to sing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it wouldn't matter if you couldn't sing or you didn't ever do it before, because people will be there. They'll hand you a book and they'll help you.
Yeah, I have a question. Were these sometimes done in liturgies? We're seeing people only singing music. Services where there would be preaching, any other kind of liturgy.
What we're seeing are what are called the harp sings, where the whole event is around singing. But this is also part of what I would call a pre-church, like primitive Baptists. And my mother was a primitive Baptist. And their hymnals are Shape Note. And it's just something they grow up with and they learn as part of their spiritual journey, if you will, so that they're at home with it in church. I don't know whether this is related, but I was in Scotland many years ago, and I went to this little church. There were no instruments. It was a Presbyterian church, as you might expect in Scotland. And the minister just stood up. We will now sing God, whatever the name of the hymn was, to the tune of Dunfermline. And everybody knew. There was no organ. He just gave the note and everybody started to sing. All they had were the words. And it's just quite amazing. I want to just, before let's save our questions, because if people have to leave, we want to give them the chance. I would like to play one more for you. I'd like to play lots more for you, but there isn't time. This one really struck me. Again, there's the happiness, but there's also the other emotions. This reminded me of a Bach chorale, which actually shouldn't be surprising because the tune was written in 1720 while he was still alive. So it was a very familiar way to compose. But just the words and the music I found very moving, and I'd like to play that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, let's see if there's anything else. This is very quick. A man talking about his childhood experience.
Some people have described this as being a dying tradition. If it ever took a dying breath, I was never aware of it. My ancestors have sung this type of music, I know, at least for 5 generations back. And there are many that sing with us that can make that same claim and even longer.
Okay, just to say quickly that we have harp singing right here in our own midst. The Keystone Sacred Harp Convention has been held here a number of years, and it's planned again for 2026. There's an all-day singing just about a month from today here in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, it's on the 6th, which is the day of Art Bazaar, because I was thinking how much fun it might be to get a few folks to go. But second and fourth Thursdays all year round at Dubois Robeson People's Center, there's a singing. And right over here in Germantown, on second Saturdays at the Germantown Mennonite Historical Trust, they have a harp sing. So if you're wanting to go and hear it in person, I'm not going to play this. I'm just going to point out that this has become a traditional final hymn of a harp sing. And what they do after they finish singing the syllables, they are all standing up and passing the peace, as it were, hugging each other, and how sweet the hours have passed away since we have met to sing and pray. And so I just want to say that this has been a sweet hour for me that we have passed together, and I hope that you had a good time, and thanks for coming. And if you want to stay, thank you. It gave me great joy. I'm just so saturated with Sacred Harp right now. If you do have a question, if others need to leave, please do. But if you'd like to stay and chat for a minute.
I have a comment because I really had a revelation in a way, because when you were playing the music at first, I said to myself, it sounds like from my childhood, I've heard this. But then I said no, but they weren't mixing, blacks and whites. But then when I saw this black man,
yes,
because I've heard this singing, but I didn't know what it was.
Yes.
My father had projects in Alabama.
Well, as you saw briefly in that one video, that black people had also caught onto it and said, we want to share in this. But now it's everybody.
But I had heard it, but didn't realize what it was.
I just wanted to add that even though this is really southern, it's all over rural New England, which I discover every summer. There are sings just all over the place.
Well, that's where it actually started when it first came over, and it worked its way down. And the northern part of the country kind of got a little snooty and decided that there was something called a Better Music Society, and everybody got all excited about being more refined, as it were. But I'm glad to hear that it's turned around again.
Does this connect with the Great Awakening that was going on in the early 18th century?
I don't know. I really don't. I
It's a
didn't.
course in American history, American music history, when I was in graduate school. And most of it went west with the people, the settlers, who were mostly Scots-Irish, who brought this tradition with them, because that was their music tradition as they moved west, and then through Appalachian and down.
One of the things I noticed